Hello, welcome to GameGazm. I'm Jay.
I'm Dan.
And what are we playing today, Dan?
It's Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot.
Probably the most classic PlayStation platformer of all time, and absolutely not caught up in IP development hell anywhere at Activision.
Yeah, it's a shame, that is.
I'm not angry about it. No, but anyway, back in the days when it was fresh and new and nothing had gone wrong, this is Crash Bandicoot, the original from Naughty Dog, and it's 20 years old. Later this year, 2016, came out in America on the 31st of August, 96. Well done.
It was a good start. It was a good start.
Maybe a good time to talk about all the death animations that you get in this game.
That's what I was going for. That's what I was going for.
Pretty much anywhere you die in this game, you get a pretty cool animation. If you fall down the hole, his shoes go flying into the air.
His shoes come flying back up. Yeah.
And well, if you stand next to a TNT box, you can imagine what happens then.
Yeah. Boom. So, what is a bandicoot?
It is a small sort of rat-like creature that's native to like the Australian, New Zealandy, Tasmanian island part of the world.
I have no idea what one is.
When they were developing the game, it was it was the first sort of proper Naughty Dog game. They had existed as a company for a little while, and they'd done a few games previous to this for like the 3DO, and I think they did a Jaguar fighting game called Way of the Warrior as well.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, they got some money from Universal Studios, and they moved out to sort of California, and this was their first properly financed game where it was more than just the two of them, Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin, the founders. And they wanted a creature. This is hard for us to believe in Britain, but in America, the hedgehog wasn't very well known as an animal. It wasn't something they'd really heard of.
Okay.
So when Sonic the Hedgehog came out, it sounded like quite an exotic kind of animal, and they wanted something else no one had ever heard of. So they went through a book of like Australian marsupials and picked Bandicoot. The working title was Willy the Wombat. Wombat also being a similar kind of creature, and the character design is more Wombat than Bandicoot. But there you go.
Willy
Just
the
one of
Wombat.
those things.
That would
They
have been a
thought,
different game.
Yeah, they thought. I think the shortlist was like Dash, Bash, Crash, and they went with Crash. Something to do with the crates, which weren't actually in the game until quite late in development. It was, I think, just before it went to beta. They put a lot of work into building these levels, which was very hard to do on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Very detailed, looks better than anything else of its year. And it was very late on in the day that they thought, we need something else here. It's all very well walking through the jungle or the factory or whatever and spinning the occasional enemy and jumping over the occasional trap. But they were like, there's something missing.
Something to collect.
But they were using so much of the power of the polygons, the total polygon count or whatever you want to call it, that whatever they put in the game really couldn't take up much memory. And the lowest poly thing they could think of was a box.
I love the way the way games came about back then. They were designed because that was the easiest thing or the only thing that they could do.
Yeah. And the reason the camera's twisting and turning through this jungle, it looks really great, but it's because you can't see too far ahead, because then it would slow down, the frame rate would drop, the PlayStation wouldn't be able to cope. So every single twist and turn on this path is engineered to keep the game running at the right speed. Whoop.
Plant.
There's actually a really good website I'd encourage anyone to go to if they're a fan of this or any kind of platform games of this era. It's called All Things Andy Gavin, and it's the blog of one of the creators of this. And he's actually quite responsive to comments, and I've had a few questions I've put on there answered. One of which was, were you ever worried about a game being called Crashing? And he actually commented back saying that their mantra in the office was, well, if we're going to call the game Crash, you better not. And I don't ever remember it crashing ever, and I've played this game thousands of times over the last 20 years.
I've never had a crash. Here we go. Oh.
Yeah. Apparently that was really hard to program as well. You'll, if you want to read a full in-depth history of this game on that website, they talk about how hard it was to program that 3-box trick. Is it worth risking a life to get a life?
Well, I had a mask.
Yeah.
And
you got away with it.
And was it Aku? I'm not going to jump on these boxes. Let's get straight to the end.
Straight through. This was actually the really sort of fiddly save system for the first game. They abandoned it after the first one and just went memory card only, but you could get a password.
Yeah, back in the days of memory cards.
You know, I only ever had one for my PS1, and it was a constant juggle of which 15 games I wanted to keep saves for.
Yeah, and then you get the games which took up 2 or 3 spaces. Or
like, yeah, I don't need Resident Evil anymore. 3 months later, no!
Or you accidentally delete the wrong file.
Yeah.
That's it. Your life may as well have just ended right then.
Crash actually came about because they wanted to do... Obviously, at the time, it was when they started developing it, it was before Mario 64 had been announced or anything like that. So they wanted to do a 3D platformer. And they had the idea of the camera following the character rather than being left to right, you know, side-scrolling. Yeah. So the nickname of the game in its earlier stage was the Sonic's Ass game. And they were trying to figure out how you design a Sonic level or a game like Sonic just looking at the character's back. Which is why they actually ended up putting some of these side-scrolling levels in. They wanted to make sure people got on with the game okay, so they didn't go fully into the screen. And I think that made it a better game, actually. You never really knew what you were going to get. Some levels changed perspective midway through.
Yeah, and, it was very cleverly designed.
Yeah, and you never really feel like the game's trying to trick you into thinking it's a 2D platform or a 3D platform, or it kind of worked. They actually started quite late in the game, level design-wise. They tried to do the jungle level quite early on, and they just couldn't get the gameplay right. So they went later in the game to the third island when the levels go a bit industrial, a bit factory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They mastered that. They got those levels right throughout all their earlier levels. And once they got the gameplay right in the factory, they came back to the jungle and copied their own work, if you know what I mean. So they knew it would work.
Yeah. Wow.
They got it to work in the industrial. I don't know why that was easier for them, but... They threw 3 or 4 levels away from very early on. They tried to do one where you were climbing a waterfall, actually, which you can see sort of beta footage of online, but it doesn't quite look right.
Climbing a waterfall?
Yeah, kind of a cool idea. Kind of a level like this, but imagine like water dropping at the back. And
yeah.
But yeah, you can tell it was a development level, an actual finished level.
It's bonus round. So who are these female Bandicoot?
She's the... That's Crash's girlfriend, and you're out to rescue her. So if you watch the intro to the game, you sort of fall out of Cortex's lab window and get washed up on the beach. Oh, you did it! On the first island, and then you have to work your way back to where you came from. But because they put her on these save screens, it's kind of like, well, she's there. She's just there.
Grab her and
go home.
Yeah.
Which the developers themselves admit was quite an odd thing.
That wouldn't have been a very good game, though, would it? If you could rescue the girl right at the start.
In fact, one of the they did a really good localization on this for Japan, and it was rare in the 90s, and probably still is fairly rare for a Western game to really take off in Japan. But they had a proper good team of Japanese localization producers, and they did a whole version of the game just for Japan.
Wow!
And one of the things they insisted they changed was that you didn't see her at the end of the bonus levels, or I think she warps off. You see her for a split second, and then she disappears again, just to explain that she's not actually there.
Yeah. There we go. The first chase level.
Yeah.
These levels used to scare the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
It's
when never I was as difficult as younger. You remember, but yeah, I used to think. I think this is probably as far as I got on my very first playthrough. It's just the concept of it is more frightening than the actual reality of playing it.
Yeah. The whole panic. So the later games they introduced more things than like polar bears chasing you.
Riding a polar bear and being chased by a polar bear, and I think it was a tiger in Crash 3, a tiger cub. Yeah, along the Great Wall of China.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, because you play as Crash's sister.
That's right.
In the third game.
Yeah, in some of the levels
they're working together on that one. But that was it. So Crash Bandicoot was really good for the first 3, and then after that, it just went downhill.
Yeah, they didn't really... I can't remember who it went to first. I think Traveller's Tales had a go at it, and it never really recaptured what the game was about. I think they tried kind of... I could argue it 2 ways. They tried to stick too closely to this formula, but got it wrong, or they didn't. Yeah. When the PS2 and they had the extra power, they actually didn't do anything new with it. They just tried to copy this. So. They did a few games, but it's been a while now, hasn't it, since there was a Crash game.
Decent Crash game, yeah. Hey, we got a perfect on that one.
Yay! That's how you get the gems.
Yeah, it's not difficult on that level, though, to be fair, was it? So, well, you get the password on that one, and then hand over to you for these next ones.
Where did we get to? Have you given me the first boss?
No, I think... upstream.
Yes, Sony had a rule on the PS1 about how many times you could use the laser to read information off the CD drive, and the limit was 70,000 for the entire game, I think, something like that. And the only way they could get this game to work, because there's so much data, was for it to be constantly reading off the CD, so it never stops spinning the disc when you're playing this game. It's always reading the next bit of the level.
Wow.
I think it was 120,000 CD hits. Which actually broke a rule at Sony, but it was quite early in the console's life, and Sony were looking for a sort of a hit, a mascot, a game that looked really good, and Naughty Dog leaked their own game to someone at Sony before they told them that they'd broken the rules, and Sony were like, "Oh well, we really need this game. We're just going to have to live with this." But
it was PlayStation's mascot, wasn't he? Crash Bandicoot.
It was never official either, but it was pretty much as close as we got.
Yeah, well,
maybe him and Lara.
Oh yeah, Lara as well. Whenever you think PlayStation, I instantly think of Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, hey, for them plants. That's a bad time to get that. Really, in the middle of your invulnerability.
Yeah, you lose it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Play it dangerous. Oh. Yeah, when they were testing the gameplay at Naughty Dog, they didn't. They gave it to plenty of gamers to play, but they wanted to really make sure that the game was fun to play. So they went round when they were at Universal. They went round and rounded up a load of secretaries and people who they probably imagined had never really played a game in their life, and sort of made them play it. And it wasn't until they started smiling and looking like they were enjoying the game that they thought they had anything that was worth putting out.
Oh wow!
Not a bad idea, that really.
No, missed 3 boxes. Where were them 3 boxes?
I don't know. I lost all my masks there.
Yeah.
No, I got him there.
So was it the second game where he started doing the dance after beating the bosses?
Yeah. They did a lot of work on the engine for the second one. Much higher polygon count, as the levels look better, the lighting's better.
Yeah, like more the different areas as well, and different things. Was that the one with the rocket pack as well?
Yes,
the second
towards
one.
The end, yeah.
I always remember them levels being really difficult. And the levels at the end of this game as well, so it starts off fairly easy. Yeah. And then later on when you go into through the ruins, those levels get really difficult. I remember I don't think I ever got past them when I was younger.
There are a lot more secret paths in Crash 2 as well. It's quite a complicated game to play. Again, if you look for a 100% speed run, I looked at one of them a few months ago and there are bits I've never seen. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So it kind of encourages you to go back and play some of the levels when you got some of the gems, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember a lot of people at the time didn't think much of Crash. They didn't think it was a particularly good game. I never really understood that, but it's obviously stood the test of time.
Oh, yes.
I know a couple of years ago, sort of before the PS4 came out, the top 3 selling games on the PlayStation Store, not just the classics, the actual top 3 selling games across the whole PlayStation Store were Crash 1, Crash 2 and Crash 3.
Yeah.
And Crash Team Racing was in the top 10 as well. It's like, how many signs do you need, Sony?
Yeah, to bring it back. I think the biggest issue is that they don't own the rights to it anymore. No. It's Activision.
It's Activision, for some reason. Well, they'd probably turn it into a first-person shooter, wouldn't they?
Crash Destiny. You've done it again.
Call of Bandicoot.
Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. We need another classic.
As much as I'd like to see a new Crash, if they were... never mind. If they were going to just make it into some 10 a penny, modern day, whatever, leave it alone. I agree with you.
Turn Crash into a third-person cover shooter.
With an upgrade tree.
Yeah. DLC.
Yeah. What would the DLC be for this if this came out now?
They give you a time saver pack, so you get a lot more fruit and.
For $2.69, you can have a permanent Aku mask.
That's it. Yeah. £3 to give you a mask, so you can get through a difficult level or something.
$5.99 for different coloured jeans.
Yeah. Oh, you missed 6 boxes. Pay $1.99 to get the gem.
Yeah. You know it.
That was it, because in the other Crash Bandicoot, you had to collect an item in the level, didn't you? The crystals and that. This one, you didn't. But I remember it was quite frustrating, some of the levels where you get to the end and you didn't get the crystal, and you have to go through it again.
You have to figure it out, and if you die in this game, you can't you can't get the box. You can't get the box gem. You have to get all the boxes and get to the end of the level in one life, just because of the memory. Couldn't remember.
So yeah, when you die, it resets.
If you died, if you fell down a hole or something, the game couldn't remember which boxes you'd broken before the checkpoint. So it just took the feature away instead. But yeah, that got fixed. Also, no loading screens in Crash 2 and 3. They managed to get the loading times down so short they didn't actually have to make it obvious that that's what the game was doing.
I never actually noticed that.
Something Naughty Dog have always tried to do. Jak and Daxter and Uncharted, no loading screens at all.
When you say them games as well, it's quite funny thinking that Naughty Dog went from something like this to the Uncharted series.
Yeah, think about the latest Uncharted 4 trailer and compare it to this and you think, wow.
Yeah, gaming's come a long way.
Yeah, one of the co-presidents of Naughty Dog worked on Crash 3 as well, so there are people still there from almost this early on.
Yeah.
Always looks like you have to go left there.
Yeah, I struggled with that.
I had to use a walkthrough for that level, but it's muscle memory now. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, they did a lot of localization work. The American version came out first, and then the European version was after that. But for whatever reason, Sony in Europe at the time wanted it more difficult, so there were less checkpoints. But they did do a proper conversion. It wasn't letterboxed or running too slow or anything like that. They did a proper European conversion.
Wow.
And because that involved making it work on our slightly higher resolution televisions, that actually meant that the game could have slowed down, but they got around it somehow. There's a very technical explanation of how on Andy Gavin's blog. If you Google, it's all things Andy Gavin, and then there's a section on the making of the first Crash game. And I keep pestering him to do Crash 2 as well. Like once a year I'll remember about it and go and see if he's written it yet, but he's clearly got bigger fish to fry at the moment.
Yeah, they're working on a bigger project. So I wonder where they're going to go from Uncharted 4.
I know. What on earth will Naughty Dog do next? It's
The Last of Us 2?
There's almost certainly going to be a Last of Us 2, isn't there? But I wonder if they're going to do a new IP as well. And I wonder, just to go slightly off topic, if they've only said it's the last Nathan Drake game, they haven't said it's the last Uncharted game. So they could, Sony own the rights because Naughty Dog's owned by Sony. I wonder if they'll hand it over to another almost as good developer to do something with the franchise.
Maybe, but would it be the same?
It wouldn't be the same, would it? It'd be like
Uncharted
that weird Killzone game on the PS4 that was technically fine but didn't. Oh, right in the head. Oh, do you think that's a good place to leave it? I got totally and utterly punched in the head there.